You're the man that everyone wants to talk to. We get asked a lot of questions about you as well. So we were like, well, why don't we have a conversation and get the answers straight from the horse's mouth?
You were here soon, right here?
In person, have a conversation. And thanks for making time today. I know it was super last minute for the listeners. We organised this in about 12 hours. So respect for that, because not many people would actually do that.
Yeah.
They'd find an excuse.
It was literally under 12 hours. You texted me and we made it happen in under 6 hours to lock everything in.
Yeah.
And cleared my schedule, put it in, because I believe that, like when opportunities come, you got to take it. You know what I mean? If you see something that's going to take you toward that path and get you 1 step, 2 step, 3 step closer to where you are, you take it and you make time for it, right? A lot of people say, nah, I don't got time. Yeah, you make the time. So I made time today for sure. Yeah, I'm glad to be here, happy to be here, and present to be here.
I appreciate that. So, yeah. You said one thing earlier that I picked up on and I really liked, and I wanted to keep it for this. But when you were talking about Leigh travelling up and down to Melbourne from where he lives, I noticed that you said that would have cost you a lot of time, and that would have cost you a lot. And I picked up on that, and I was like, he's tapped in, he understands the game that we're trying to play as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, the typical thing that comes out of someone's mouth is that would have cost you a lot of money in petrol, travelling up and down. But you said that would have cost you, 6, 7, 8 hours a week or something like that? A day? Yeah, sorry, a day. And I picked up on that and I was like, that's smart. That's a great way to look at the world and think about it, for sure.
Yeah. And in that equation, because I thought the same. I was like, it is taking me this amount of time, but weighing it all up, the things that I could get done, it's a bit of a learning time for me, do some calls. I was the same. I was thinking that is the time that I'm using here worth it? And in the end, it ended up being worth it. There were other things tied into that whole equation, but it's such a great way to look at it as well. It's not just about, because we meet people all the time like that, there's opportunity all around them, but it's just too far. It'll take too long. It's not worth the money. But when you really put the whole equation together, is that time worth what you're going to get out of it? And in the end, it did work out for me. So,
amazing. That's beautiful that it worked out for you. The reason why I picked up on that is because a lot of people have this thing where they let me reframe that. When they don't know how much time they're actually using, like doing something, right? They may be like staying on the couch, and then they could be on there for 15 minutes, but they look up and it could be 50. For the same thing with like traveling, you can micro analyze that to its very like micro level, where you can see like how long are you spending in the shower, how long are you spending driving, how long are you spending eating and watching something, right? One of the things that I recently stopped doing is actually watching something while eating, right? Like making my intention to just have the purpose to eat for sustenance, not for desire, right? So I stopped watching and I just focused on intentionally like sustaining myself. And that allowed me to save time and be more intentional with what I eat and my desires when I consume certain things. So and that actually has evidence to what I say. And so there's Japanese, very small community in Japan. They have the highest life expectancy in the world. And the reason is because they eat to 80%, right? And they eat in very varieties. Like if you see like Japanese people, they eat like small portions. So that in a way is a form of like disciplining yourself as well and managing your time. Yeah. In a nutshell, all those little things add up. Yeah. And I can go into so more little things. But that's an example.
It's the 1% club, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a whole lot of 1% everywhere.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of science behind it too. Like not watching those things when you eat allows you to actually digest your food properly and get the thing done. Your sustenance is what you're after. Yes. Because if you're watching, most people, what do they watch when they sit down? It's either doom scrolling through Instagram or they're watching some sort of like terrible thing. They're watching the news, or they're watching some sort of like horror or true crime, and that's just upsetting everything that's going on in the body. And then also the nervous system puts a connection to the food as well, with the response that it's getting from whatever they're watching. So then that gets in the way of that's a distraction as well. So that can become an addiction. And then the whole thing.
But it's back to our prime. Sorry to cut you off, but like when we hunters and gatherers, they would go out, they would eat, they would hunt for food, right? They would fast for 3 days because, man, I'm hungry. Then I'm nowhere to go hunt, get some food. And once they attain that, they're eating in a way where they are vigilant and observative, where they're not watching something and not their surroundings. So when they're eating, they're making sure they finish their food and on to the next objective. So the same way we're trying to apply that same concept here. It may be hard, but using that same fundamental law is what's going to take you from a good to great.
It's incredible. Do you fast?
I do.
Yeah, awesome.
It's part of my like three routines to fast. So I fast for religious aspects. Every Monday and Thursdays, if you fast on those days, our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he did it. So to follow him is our way, Mondays and Thursdays, and to fast either way while I fast for my fighting. And so I'm a Muay Thai fighter as well. And we fast not only like health benefits, weight cuts, but also just to cleanse yourself. And when you fight and you're running, you don't want to be full, right? So I pretty much didn't fast, like intuitive fasting. Yeah.
Sick. That's cool. It's such a scary topic for so many people, right? Like I speak to tons of people about fasting. I'm a big proponent for it. And the useful thing is it proves to yourself that you can do hard things, right? It's I think one of the most accessible things you can do to prove to yourself that you can do hard things. Like one of the most underrated skills we can have these days is to purposely do hard things to prove to ourselves that we can still do it, because our environment doesn't often show it to us. You know, one of our great psychologists that we follow, a guy called Peter Crone, and he says, you know, most people will say they go through struggle or fearful events, but it's rarely physical anymore. Most of our struggle is psychological. So you see, so that's where it's different from our hunter-gatherer times when there was a lot of physical worry. You had to be strong, you had to be fit, you had to be fast, you had to be focused, because there was actual physical terror. But now most of our worry and most of our fear is actually psychological. So we're playing a different game. So to force ourselves to do hard things is like a superpower. Just keep reminding ourselves, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. Yeah.
It's a psychological warfare. You know what I mean? We're not physically eating war now. It's more our minds than what society's trying to grab your mind.
Yeah. So totally. We're living in a desire-based world, like desire-based eating, and then scrolling and watching stuff while we're eating. It's like double desire, all happening at the same time. Yeah. Yeah, it's everywhere. It's just everywhere. Dopamine hits is what people are looking for, all over the place. So, yeah, nice, good place to start that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But
dopamine.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously, you know, you've done quite a lot in quite a short space of time. Right now, I would say you're probably the most talked about barber in Australia. One of in the world, I reckon, at this point. Australia is one place, but you know, a lot of people keeping up with your stuff all over the world. Astronomical growth in the last, I don't know, what was it, like 6 months to a year? It's just gone crazy. One of the things, in true Diary of a CEO style, you know, and Stephen kind of strips it back, already got a glimpse, we've already got an insight into that through what we just spoke about. But like, what is it about you? Like, give us some, I guess, early context. What is it about Henry that is different? You know, what in your early context gives you this drive, gives you this discipline, gives you this work ethic?
What gives me that, like you said, difference is knowing and constantly developing my why. Because when you don't, your why is so rooted in your heart and being your, you know, yourself, that once you discover it, it could take you, 2 weeks, it could take you 2 years, 20 years. fortunate for me, and I thank God for this, and I thank God for all my accolades and achievements, and with full humility, I give all due and praise to Him. But I think once you discover that, you create that why, you constantly just keep sculpting at it, your how will come. Your what's my next step will come. So knowing your why. And the second one would be trying to just be yourself, right? And being yourself is being different, because there's not a person like Leigh that can be like you. There's not another person that can be you. No one can be the best version of you. So in a way, I wanted to like fully express that, right? The best of my ability, I still have like hinders today, but always trying to get better, right? And once I find out that being my best self and being my authentic self, regardless of hate or love, it really separates those two together. And when someone really hates you, they do not like you. But when someone loves you, they really, really like your character. And for me, I'm fine with that, like slate, and fine with that perspective, because I would rather get that 20% that really like me than to be this fake person to everyone, right?
Yeah.
Even if the 80% hate me, I'm cool with that. I like my 20%, and they're with me like this. That could be my brothers, that could be my audience, that could be my community, that could be the people that I mentor, the people that are in my program, the people in my community, friends, family. That 20%, I will cherish that, all right? And still have humility to the 80% to help them, because, they don't see, they haven't seen enough to have a full agreement, a full judgment. They just first thought they went. And I'm fine with that. I understand that that's the reality of the world.
Yeah.
Hate is inevitable.
100%. That means you're doing something good. When you're getting hate, it means you're doing it right.
I think we just said that this morning, didn't we, on a coaching call? We were like, if you're getting people that don't understand what you're doing something right.
100%.
Because you're pushing the outer edges, right?
I agree. There's so many greats in the world that have been hated on, right? And
all of them.
Well, every single all of it. It's actually natural for human nature to pull someone down, because when someone sees someone doing something different, someone sees someone doing something different, they want to pull them down to raise them back to society expectations. But the expectations are meant to be lifted for this economy, for this industry, for this humankind to grow. So it takes people like yourself to see that, as well.
100%. And it takes bravery and courage to put ourselves on the line and talk about the things that we talk about. And I feel like, one thing that I really, amongst a lot of things that I respect about what you do, is just putting yourself out there again and again, even though the hate is inevitable. You'll put up another price increase and another one. And every time you do it, oh, fuck, here it comes. Yeah. Here comes the opinions.
Yeah, 100%. You know what's funny? When I do get something like, hey, I look at it in a perspective where I'm very grounded on it, and I look at it for what it is, because like the hater, I could easily look at him and be like, man, he doesn't understand. I could really bash the hater up and tell him and respond, but that would just be there with him. If I take an approach where I am, mature about it, and I am able to even show them a bit of kindness, they can see that even if they I just said something mean to this guy, but this guy showed me kindness and showed me oh bro, if you need some tips, that can change someone. And that lesson right there is what I've learned from Islam.
Yeah.
Even if someone is hating and really scrutinizing without any conviction, still treat them with humility, still treat them with kindness. That's what our Prophet did, and I carry out that same principle.
Yeah, totally. I love it.
That's ultimate leadership right there, isn't it? That's what we preach as well. It's no matter what You know, someone's words can only hurt you to the degree that you already believe them. You know, so if that hate's coming in and you already believe that in yourself, it's going to get you. You know, but if those words come in and you can do what you do, bird's eye view that, and I just come at it with compassion. Oh, sucks to live like that. That takes energy to be like that. You know, that just like, think of the energy it's sucking out of them to take time out of their day to send hate to you. Like, oh, what a disempowering life. So I come at it with compassion. But to be able to do that is true leadership, right? Like, it takes a true leader to be able to step back and think about what's going to be best for the greater good here. Like you said, it was very energetic. If you meet that hate with love, that might be that one time in that person's life that they received any love at all. Because it's all in what they say, all in their actions. It's like, wow, what's happened to get them to this point, right? Like, what's happened to this person to get them to this point, to hate on me for like succeeding, you know? And
what got you through that, for you to be in a position, in the mind state, you know what I mean, to send that energy? Like, something must have happened. So for us to, like, you know, put ourselves in their shoe and try to do that, you know, I mean, takes a lot, but in a way, it's also really reassuring.
Yeah. Well, it means you're doing it right. Like you were saying before, there's a girl that I follow, and she does, like, her whole kind of thing is shadow work. Like, that's what she focuses on. And she said something, I'm going to try and quote it to the best that I can, but it's like, there'll always be people who are committed to misunderstanding you, because it's the only way that they know how to relate to somebody doing better than them, or being more successful than them, or in your case, charging more than them, doing it less time. But nobody really knows, like, what's happening behind the scenes, which is what I mentioned in that reel that I tagged you in. Nobody really knows what's going on behind the scenes, because of course, like, Leigh and I know business well enough to know that there must be a strategy here. There must be a plan. Like you were saying, there's a why. If there's no why, then it's kind of like, well, where the fuck is this going? You know. But of course, like, I would imagine there's a strategy. And like I was saying in the reel, for those who are just following it and committed to misunderstanding it, they would rather do that than actually get to understand. Which is why, you know, we get to do what we're doing here today and gives, I guess, you the opportunity to speak into it. It gives us the opportunity to ask you instead of assuming, because we get a lot of people asking us questions. Oh, what do you think of HH? Or what do you think of him charging $300? That's ridiculous. Like for us, it's like, it's not ridiculous.
More power too.
Like, more power. Yeah. And like I said on the post, instead of hating on you, people should be thanking you, because you're making them look affordable. You're making them look achievable for many people. It's like, oh, well, there's guys out here charging $300 a haircut.
Yeah.
$80 is fine. But for a lot of people, going from 60 to 80 is a big jump.
Big jump.
You know?
Going 30, 50.
Yeah, big jump. It's like they're scared shitless to do it.
For you to bang.
Yeah.
When you really look at that, like, when you break that down, you doing what you're doing, charging that high ticket price, there's no reason other people shouldn't be booked. Because if they look that cheap, if it's just, you know, I'm sure we'll get into this some more, but like, a lot of people bring it down to like the dollar value perception, right? Like, oh, shouldn't be more than $50 for a haircut. Well, if that's the case, then you've gone way high ticket, everybody else looks cheap, there's no reason why they shouldn't be booked. Really, if that was what it came down to, you know? Well, that's not the case. Still people aren't happy.
That's a good perspective. I never looked at it. That perspective, like, in there, it allows you to have, to fulfill another market.
Yeah.
Right? I've fulfilled this market where I made it so extreme to people considering it and actually seeing the service. But then now, someone that's 50, 60, 80 to 150, you know what I mean? Like, it has broadened out the bell curve.
Yeah. And we get this in our coaching group all the time, but like, what are you charging now? What's your price?
So my high service is $310.
Yeah, cool. Which is like fantastic, amazing. But there's hairdressers that charge. This is the other thing as well. There's Barber world, and there's like hairdresser world. You know, there's a hairdresser, I think he's in New York. It's like $2,400 for one haircut. You know, and very similar thing. There's a lot of brand involved. There's a lot of like celeb status involved. There's all this stuff involved. But without understanding the strategy, people will just hate on that person. Oh, that's not fair. Oh, blah, blah. It's like, but you don't know what the cogs that are going on in there. So before we move on, talking about the why, what is your why today, and has it changed over the years?
That's a great question. My why in my heart has definitely changed. So much that like every 3 months it changes because of how fast I'm trying to learn my why. Constantly doing it every day. If anything, 5 times a day, I work on it, right? And literally, each 5 a.m., 12, 5 p.m., 8 and 10. Those are my times where I sit down and I actually look upon my why. And those times are my prayer times. Before this, I prayed. And I pray every day. My why has shifted. Has shifted a week ago when I went to Makkah, right, which is a pilgrimage spot where you go to. It's a visitation of the house of the one true God. Okay, and going there has realized that this worldly life is, people just think about the flesh in the worldly life. They don't realize that this is just a test in this life. There's an afterlife. So what good are you doing in this life that will convert you into the next life? And that belief, or believing that there's an afterlife, or believing what happens after you die, has been a thing that I'm consistently trying to get evidence for. And it builds. It's not like you believe it straight away, you know, but I can say 100% now that I believe 100%, more than what I do, more than my business, more than like my money, more than everything in this, what I've got right now, that I believe that there's an afterlife. So what am I doing today? So for example, those are the things that the acts that will gain God's pleasure. That could be providing for my mum. That could be donating to charity, donating to a person that I see. That could be whenever I'm about to step on a bug, I'm like, okay, let me not, like, you know, or any sign of any opportunity to pick the virtuous action. That in a way is my why. Being a virtuous and righteous character to gain God's pleasure. And that's my why.
It's beautiful. Yeah, so good. I love that. And something I'm seeing there as well is like the humility to allow it to change. I think that's where a lot of people get stuck, right? They get stuck in their convictions. And that's a dangerous place to stay, especially if you get there too early. You know, a lot of people will get their early 20s. How old are you right now?
I'm 21.
21, yeah. So like it's still super early in the piece, right? But to be doing this work now is amazing. I'm so glad you brought this stuff up, because like we love this realm of thinking as well, like what happens in the next life and all this stuff. And
because it needs to be thought about.
The way I look at it is like this like density here is just part of the whole thing. You know, this is like part of the passing through. Like this is just another experience here in this flesh density, right?
My shoes.
But it is. It's like, and what it does is it also removes the fear of death. A lot of people got a fear of death because they think it's the end. And what understanding that this is part of the pass through is like that. There's a fear lifted. It's not gone because we're never quite sure, but it does lift a lot of it. So I love that, having that humility to allow it to change throughout your life, and having that broader perspective. Things is like, it's wild.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You mentioned a point where people get scared of what happens when you die. Like when you die can either scare you or be really reassuring for you. Right? Because when you die, how can you stand in front of your creator with all the baggage that you've got, you know, that you could have rectified? You had the option. He has given you opportunities to rectify your sins. Knowing that if you die right now, where would you go? Do you reckon you go to a bad place or a good place? Because tomorrow is never promised. Tomorrow is never promised. And I see it, and I've heard stories about it where there is an 80-year-old that is continually, you know, dying, but then there's 20s to 30-year-olds dying every day, and I hear about it every day. So I know that tomorrow is not promised. Right? That's why you'll be present. But, if you die today, where would you be? And that's the question that I ask.
Yeah, I think about this a lot. Like, I don't want to take down too dark of a path, but last year my dad passed away in June last year. And to think about that, sometimes I look at his life and I think, he did like this very similar thing his whole life, right? Like, grew up, played sports, worked, had kids, and then passed away at a young age. But when I look at it in this sense, it was a life of service, essentially. And really, he worked hard, which, that's subjective, but it was a life of service and providing for his family. That's quite virtuous in a way, right? Like, people have their different things on that, but like, really, if you look at it on that scope, quite a virtuous thing. So like, it's so good. And I often think, I'm like, where is that right now? Like, where did he get to? Like, it's a really cool thing to think about. And like, there's things that, I think he was a bit deeper spiritually than he ever let on. I think there were certain things inside him that he always knew about. And his dad passed away when he was young. So like, it's like a common thing in the family, right? It's a chain. But there was this peace and calm. He's diagnosed with a certain situation, but there was a peace and a calm about, he just trusted that this was the thing, and I feel like there was a part of that in there as well, like that reuniting with his father and maybe past relatives before, and that understanding is huge, and that's where I think that hits home, because it removes a bit of that fear, like, this is probably not the end. Yeah, it's a beautiful perspective. It's amazing.
And maybe his purpose was to bring you to the world, that you can share these perspectives, because not a lot of people, even what we've spoke to so far, not a lot of people actually speak to these topics or go that deep and think about it that deep.
I'm very open. For me, I'm a person where I'm so open to the point where I'm willing to listen to the other person that is in opposition to me with an open slate, because that's how we learn. That's where we learn, where one point of the party on the extreme side and another point of the party come together in a nice and kind and, in a matter where they're speaking, to come to a common ground. That's where you learn, right? So I'm open to any beliefs. I'm truly open to belief, and I'll take it with a grain of salt.
I said that to Leigh today at lunch. I was like, one thing I really admire about Henry and what I've seen of you so far, because we only met today, that you're open-minded to change, to learn. Anybody who's that closely linked with God has that openness, because I believe no matter what religion you subscribe to, that connection still exists, and at any given moment God can be coming through another person. So for that person to be labelled as wrong, you could be literally putting a wrong label on God in that moment. So it's like we're presented with opportunities. The reason we're here today having this conversation is an energetic thing. We're not here for no reason. We could be anywhere doing anything, but we're here having this conversation. So
yeah,
it's beautiful.
I think what I pulled there from just listening to you, another great, I'm just seeing leadership all the way through here. Like, another great trait of a leader is being able to listen. Like you said, you're so open to listen and hear. And I've kind of developed my own viewpoint on this lately. Is like, there's listening to listen. Some people listen just purely to react or respond. Then there's listening to listen, to purely see the person. And then I heard a beautiful one which took it even further, which is what you just explained beautifully in your own way, is like, listen to listen, but also to not be afraid to be changed by what you hear. So that humility and openness to be able to go, you know what? That's an interesting perspective. I want some more of that. Like, that there is such a massive leadership trait. Huge. Powerful. And to have that at your age is like wild. That takes people a long time to learn.
To be in that state of humility, it took a lot for me to learn, because it's not something where you just be humble. It's attacking your ego every day, putting your pride to the side every day, putting away your artificial conviction, and stand up for true conviction. So, like, I could honestly, if I didn't have my reversion to Islam, 8 months ago, 10 months ago, I could be like, yeah, I'm charging this much, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? No one can stop me.
Yeah.
But with this path and this filter of Islam that I have now, it allows me to have full humility and know my place in the world. You know what I mean? People come up to me and say, bro, like, man, I love you, like, just, like, you said this, that, and I tell them, like, thank you, but, you know what I mean, like, I'm just equal to you. Like, at least don't, like, worship me and praise me in a way where I'm greater than you, because in a way we are all equal and we all have that richness in the heart. It's in us, we just need to let it out.
Yeah. To whom much is given, much is tested, as the great American philosopher Kanye West said.
Wow.
But it's true, right? Like, the more you're given, especially at a young age, right? 21, charging $300 a haircut, and doing 20K plus a month. That's a lot of stuff to be tested with. It's very easy to fall into that trap of, I'm balling, I'm going to buy the expensive car and I'm going to buy all the stuff and be flexing. And I feel like right now, Leigh and I were saying this earlier, but you've kind of started a chain reaction in the barber space of like this new generation of like kids who aren't afraid to like charge more, going after what it is that they want. But the danger that I see in that for a lot of them is not being connected to the why, and doing it for the material and doing it for the reasons that are going to end up putting them in their own trap later on, which could potentially lead to an identity crisis, even as early as 30 years old, my age. Because I had it at about 27, 28. I was like, what the fuck was I chasing there? Like, I was just chasing clout, doing it all for whatever reasons I was doing it for. But really, I was broke financially. I was broke mentally, broke emotionally. And it wasn't until I had a deep kind of spiritual journey myself, and even up to lately, when I was in Bali, it deepened even further. And now it's to the point where every time something happens, I'm looking at it as if, all right, what's this trying to teach me? What is God trying to communicate to me in this moment? Even the perceived bad things. Yeah, even the perceived bad things. To whom much is given, much is tested. So for you, getting all of the hate on your social media, that's a big test. To not react to that is a massive test. To go into justification and explaining. But when you're connected to your why, which is very mature for a 21-year-old, massively mature, it's, very admirable. So more of that, bro. And I think it's cool, like, that we're having this conversation, because, a lot of people will listen to this, I would imagine, with the expectation of, what am I going to learn about, like, how I can make $300 a haircut, or
that quickly with, like, things that they might not want to hear and might, like, they want to avoid the truth.
Yeah.
And avoid, like, sometimes people eat a banana and they enjoy the banana and then they throw it away and they dust it under the mat.
Mm-hmm.
And then that mat it could be rots for like a week, it's fine. 2 weeks it starts getting yuck. And eventually you're going to have to open up that mat and grab it out or what. But then some people don't want to do it. The more you leave it, the more you leave this why, the more it's going to rot in.
Yeah.
So for you to attack it early, which was one of my main, like, spiritual journeys at the start, was to, find the why. Find the true human purpose.
Yeah.
And if you start with that first, then you have all these, like, worldly desires, like your business, your money, your material gains. That will come like no-brainer.
Yeah.
Just find that number one. And then,
yeah, awesome. How has that affected the way that you do business now compared to before? Because you said every week every day you're deepening that connection. So compared to like say how you done business before to now, has that changed?
Constantly learning about business, definitely shifted my perspective on and how I do business now, in terms of understanding the why and enriching myself and submitting to the sun, is that I do business in a way where I would treat them how I would want to be treated. Not there to do business with you to overcome you and then take as much as I can and be selfish. I treat like how I want to be treated. And that's a lesson to go in, to be treat one onto how you want to be treated. So when doing collabs, when doing, reach out to other people, I only want to connect with my people that is higher or on the same level. So yeah, that's why I'm here today with you guys.
Yes, totally. Totally. And I'm the exact same, right? Like, so when we were discussing yesterday, do you mind if I share
Of course,
how much like we're paying you to do this?
Yeah.
Do you mind? Because I think that's valuable for people to realize, because when we had a conversation, like, this is a true collaboration. This is a business move, and I'm sure we'll be connected closer after this, and we'll be friends as well as doing this for business. But it was interesting, right? So when we're having a conversation about collab, one of the first things that you said to me was, we can discuss rates. And I was like, great, because this is what we teach our people in our coaching group, is like, again, treat others like you want to be treated. So we were going back and forth. There was a few ballpark figures thrown out. I wasn't so sure what your rate would be for something like this, but looking at how much you charge for a haircut, I was like, all right, well, he's charging $300, say an hour. Let's go 3 hours, add a little bit. So like $1,000. Then you came back with 2,000 and that was your rate. And I was like, great, no problem. There was no questions asked. It's like, treat others how I want to be treated. Like, if I have a price for my time, I'm not going to tell somebody else or say no, like, oh no, I'm asking you to do something here. Like, we are asking you to come and take time out of your day to do a podcast.
I believe so.
Yeah. And you know your value. Who would I be if I'm on Instagram preaching about charge more for haircuts, charge more this, charge more that, and I won't spend $2,000?
Yeah, it comes back to the same thing of being an imposter.
Yeah.
Right. And for example, a person will go and buy the highest like designer bag and the best car, and then they'll treat themselves with the best material gain, right? But then they come home and their house is not rich. Their house environment is not rich. Their family was, in a way where they wouldn't like it to be. That creates the imposter syndrome, right? And that leads back to what you said, where if you treat yourself in a way where you remind yourself every day about, in a sense, how you want your life to be. For example, you want nice clothes, you want nice thing. You gotta, in a way, reaffirm that with yourself, and don't be a hypocrite. And don't have double standards of what you need.
Yeah. And that energy is very reciprocal, like the law of reciprocity. I always fuck that word. Yes, the reciprocal law, right? So I'll tell you a funny story. I was on the plane when we were chatting to Henry, and we were just chatting back and forth on WhatsApp. The plane's about to take off, and I'm like, I still have coverage. Like, let's do this.
I know that feeling out.
By the time I sat on the plane, organised today with you, we discussed the $2,000. In that time, I also made a $2,000 sale for a course. So I mean, it just matches energetically. It's like, but it was right after I said yes, and I replied to you immediately. It wasn't like I'm going to sit on this and let my money stories come up and let the little brokey that lives in my head tell me that that's too much money. But what's too much money? It's like, it is what it is. It's money. It's just fucking numbers on a screen. Like, it is what it is. We have enough of that.
What goes on comes around, right? And as soon as you made that deal, you got a sale that would have covered it sooner or later.
Well, I'm sure you understand that from getting coaching yourself, right? Like, I'm sure when you first invested in Deluxe's course, it would have been a scary move. Back then, it's like, oh, I'm putting all of these eggs in this basket. And I feel deeply the reason people are scared to make investments like that is because they don't actually believe in themselves enough to get the result. And to get to the point where you can have that conviction and belief, like, I knew even that we discussed the price point of this on the podcast, because I'm like, even that's good marketing. You can even use that now. It's like, this is what I charge for podcasts, or this is what I charge for collabs, and it's only going to get more. Like, this is what we always say about our price point now, for our education even. It's like, it's not getting any cheaper.
Like, it's the cheapest you will ever get.
It's not going back down.
You have conviction that you're going to grow. You know what I mean? Like, you know your path and you're going to get there.
And everything does, right? Like, what gets cheaper? Nothing. Even people that aren't charging like your rates and our rates, it's like, they're still going to get more. Like, the guy that is at $30, $40, $50, in a couple of years, it'll be 55. A couple of years, it'll be 60. Like, everything slowly creeps up anyway, and nothing gets cheaper.
Life moves on regardless of you, if you don't. So people ask me all the time, Harry, do you get bored of what you do? Do you get bored of your cut? I'm like, there's two options. I would be bored if I was stay at the same place. If I was cutting every day, charging X amount, and I was doing that every day, 12 cuts every day, cutting 5 to 6 times a week, yes, I would be very bored. But that growth aspect has made it in a way like that is not boring. That makes it very fulfilling. It's like gym, right? When you go to the gym, you lift some weights. And when you lift that weight, you do the same exercise, but more increase in weight. So you keep increasing. You're doing the same exercise, but you're changing the weight. And that increase in weight is the growth aspect. So I can be doing the same. People go to the gym sometimes bodybuilders 2 times a day. Most people, they go 3 to 4 times, 3 to 5 times a day. And they're doing the same exercise, but that growth allows them to not be bored of it.
Yeah.
That's why I do what I do, and I don't get bored of it because of growth.
I love that. It's so good. Like, I totally relate to the gym thing. Like, back in the day, I did like amateur bodybuilding stuff, and people would say the same thing. They'd be like, I do the same training schedule for 6 months straight. Same thing, obviously, but the weights would go up and the reps would change. But they're like, oh, you're bored of that thing? Yeah, they do the same thing for like 2 weeks and be bored, But I was like, no, because watch at the end of this 6 months, watch where my body's at. It's not about, I'm not here because I get bored of the exercise. It's like the gain and the growth. It all serves a bigger purpose, right? And yeah, it's just such a good way to look at it. And I would love more barbers to think that way, because that is, we've seen it so much. I mean, how long have you been cutting now?
Picked up my first clipper in 2020.
Okay, so around that time, 2019, 2020, we're talking about like pandemic time was 2020, right? Like slightly before that, I definitely started to see barbers leave the industry because of, it's not enough money in it or this. They were getting bored, right? Deep down, they were getting bored because nobody ever taught them a growth strategy. And this is something that we focus on heavily in our coaching group, is like, where's the barber growth formula? Where's the growth strategy? Like, most people don't have one. That's why it gets boring. You do the same thing for 10 years straight, it's gonna get boring with the same reward, unless it's linked to a deep why. Now again, most people don't have a deep why. So it's just, to put that sprinkle of like growth on things, to know that it's all adding up to this other thing, and the snowball effect of that as your brand grows, as everything grows, new opportunities come, and it just all blossoms into this beautiful thing. It's just, I would love to see more people think about it that way, but I have compassion for that because that information isn't easy to find. So only now, the likes of yourself and the likes of what we do, only now is it coming to light, that there is a growth strategy, and there are ways to keep it exciting.
Because seeing is believing, right? Like, people need to see something different in order to believe that it's possible for them. And I see that with your stuff. It's like you're showing a whole generation of kids that it's possible for them to do cool shit too. So with that reciprocal law, if I was to turn around and say to you, oh no, we're not paying you $2,000, what's that doing? It's putting a stunt in your growth. That's actually us affecting your growth, which is going to affect our growth because of the energy reciprocation. And it's only going to keep going up from there, you know? Next time it's going to be 4K, I would hope. And it's like, because that's what your time is worth in that moment. And I love that, like treat others how you would want to be treated yourself. A lot of the time, people will look at a pricing increase as us taking money out of people's pockets. Like, oh, you're stealing from these kids. You get that all the time. Oh, you're stealing from these kids. Actually, though, if you reframe that, I'm making these kids feel that they're worth $300 for a haircut. You're actually uplifting people to like a higher standard for themselves in life, and to not be controlled and manipulated by money. Most people are controlled by money. I can't spend that. Why? Because I can't pay rent if I do that. It's like, well, okay, well, what if you set that as your standard? The normal is $300 a haircut. What actions are you going to partake in to get yourself to that level? It's like, all right, well, Henry's asking for $2K for the podcast. Let's sell a ticket. Resourcefulness. It's a massive skill. Like, how do we get resourceful? That brings us to a higher level. It's like, all right, if we're spending $2,000 a week on marketing, what kind of results are we going to get elsewhere in our business? So it's like, we're actually calling people to a higher level. And that's why I was like, to Leigh, I was like, yeah, definitely. Let's just, yeah.
Oh, it was a no-brainer. Like, as quick as the conversation went, everybody was just like, bing, 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 yep, done. Like, because when you understand business, like, I loved that in the communication, I loved the way you were communicating, because it was like purely business. Like, let's not get emotional about this. It's business, right? And that's why we respect it so much. And like, to us, understanding business is like, oh, it's a marketing spend. Obviously. Like, that's it. You know, boom, it's done. Like,
a lot of people confuse what decision they should make and what kind of decision they should make. So there's two types of categories that I put my decision making in. Really, one is an emotional decision and one is a business decision. And a lot of times the emotional decision is going to put you in a state of severe addiction or severe laziness, severe depression. And also often, I wouldn't call it businesses, I'll call it like the grounded decision, the present decision, the right decision, virtuous decision. That will allow you to make the best move that you can make in this circumstance. And I say circumstance because it could be a really bad circumstance, and you're going to make the best decision there. You're still going to make the best decision, even though it's the worst, sink or ship, sinking, everything's going to ruins, even when you're on a really good position. You're still going to make the best decision. People are in a really good position, and they think that they don't need to still make the same decision. You're only there for so long. Like my growth, people say, do you not going to last? You know what I mean? Like, how long is this going to last? How long can you actually start charging? How long can you keep this wave up? But I say, I strive to make the best decision every day, regardless of my situation. And that's what gets me to keep my momentum.
To those people who say you can't keep going and where's it going to go from here, and you're at 300 now, like, what's the plan from there? What do you say to those people? Like, first and foremost, actually, you don't have to say anything to them. You don't owe them an explanation. It's your life, it's your business, it's your rules. You get to decide how you live it. But I'm even just curious, like, I've been really curious to know, like, do you have a figure in mind that it's like, okay, once I get to that point, I'm doing other things with my life? Because I think a lot of the time, young kids who will follow you and follow in your footsteps won't have an exit strategy, like a strategy to be like, I'm actually diversifying my assets and my income streams so that, like, I don't have to keep going. Like, I did a post recently, right before I went to Bali, actually. I was like, price update, and It was like I swiped across and it was like $0. So I just don't cut hair anymore. So it was like a bit of a joke, like a play on like everyone putting their prices up. But yeah, for you, like, at what point do you feel you'll be kind of done or happy, or do you even think that that's a thing?
The question is when I'll be done, and when do I think I will just finish? I think I will never be. Like, I'll always be consistently trying to improve in every area of my life. You know what I mean? Because my focus shifts a lot, but I keep it very limited to what those top 3 points are. Top 3 focal points. For example, my 3 focal points in no order would be, my religion, my business, and my family. And all in those 3 things, subsection into little trees of their own branches. But I'm always focusing on improving those things. And so I think in terms of business-wise, I think that was the question that is more directed to. I think elevating it to a way where at the moment I'm entertaining, right? It's entertaining to watch my stuff. And it's nice to see like cool transitions, and it's more of a way of a dopamine fix when you watch it. But now I actually want to leave an impact, right? I actually want to give value because I know I can do it. I know that I can educate. I know that I can, help someone, because that's always been one of my things. I know that one of the greatest things and the greatest feelings to have is to help someone. That's what our Prophet ﷺ did. He sacrificed his life, for, this mankind. So I want to, funny, I used to want to be a doctor, right? And I also used to want to be astronaut. And I also used to want to be, these things, these roles that help people. So being a radiation therapist, that was my goal. And I got into the course, got into it. And the reason why I wanted to do it is because imagine saving someone's life. Imagine telling, their grandson that their grandpa's going to live, their dad's going to live, and finding a cure for that. I felt like that, wow, that would be such a great feeling. So it's always been in me to, help. And that way, now I want to divert it. And now that I'm in this industry, I want to provide value and help people, you know what I mean? Whether that's monetary, whether that's intrinsically.
Got a great platform to do it now too. And I guess now I love the fact that you've deepened like your spiritual connection, and you continue to do so, because I feel like with the platform and the opportunity that you have now, you can really positively impact a lot of people, whether they're old heads in the industry or new young kids coming through. For us, it gives us a very great perspective. I feel like barbering's been through a few waves. I feel like we were leading the second wave, you're leading the third wave. And for us, as the people who led the second wave, if we were to look at you and think, fucking this HH, Harry doing these videos, this and that. You'll get people talking shit all the time. And people will say, but he's charging this and I do better haircuts to him. And I'm sure you get that a lot, right?
Yeah. I get all kinds, you name it.
But I think what's really important to talk about, and one thing I really want to touch on today, is marketing and brand. Because one of the guys we follow, and we say this to our coaching group all the time, he's like, he's a speaker. His name's Ethan Donati. Have you heard of him before?
I haven't.
So he's a speaker. And he says it's never the best speaker that wins, it's the best marketed speaker. If we're not telling people about our shit, then how are they going to know about our shit? If we're not telling people about our stuff, how are they going to know about our stuff? Yeah. So like, how important for you in your business and your growth in your life, because essentially this has given you a fantastic opportunity now to pull on those levers of the things that you care about, which is your family and your connection with God. How important has marketing and content creation and building your brand been in getting you to where you're at now?
Marketing is very crucial, right, in this day and age and world. Because what separates marketing is that, let's just look at the greatest basketball player in the world. The greatest basketball player in the world, you might not know who he is, because he is in a village somewhere, right? Or the strongest man in the world. You see the strongest marketed man, because he has had that opportunity to put himself and has those, and fortunate to afford certain things to put him in that position, right? So know that if you have the opportunity to do and put yourself in that position, take it, because there's people out there that have talent, that are this, but they aren't fortunate to be in that position. So marketing separates you from being seen to unseen. And when you're seen, that's a whole podcast in itself. But when you're seen, you can choose how you want to be, what you want to do with that audience. Are you going to pump it and try to make, quick money and try to do this? Or are you going to cherish your audience? Are you going to, build it? Like I said, the 20% of the, and when you're on that path and when you have that opportunity to be done, there are people that will hate. Inevitable. Whatever you do in life, like, there's always going to be haters. So like I said, with that 20% of people that really like your stuff, are you going to cherish that, right? So marketing is also understanding how people operate. It's psychology, right? Learning about people. That could be through, and I've learned that through books, learned that through like Robert Greene, Human Laws of Nature, learned that through How to Influence People and Win Friends, learned that through many psychological and social books, and also doing research. So marketing is a fancy word for it's a fancy word for showing your work. Right. Like advertising.
You said it great, yeah.
One thing being
seen, right? Like, yeah.
Being seen for being good at it. And I think an important point to mention also is you only have to be good enough, but if you're better than the skill that you have at telling people about the skill that you have, like I said in every educational class I've ever been to and every educational class I've ever held, I've probably held some of the most education for men's hair in Australia in the past 5, 6, 7 years since I've been here. I'm not the best barber in the world. I'll openly tell them that. Now, I'm definitely not the best barber in the world. There's way better people than me, but I market myself well and I have an audience, like you said. So we use this thing called the 80-20 rule, and it's and I love that you brought 20% into it, because that plays into the league.
Exactly what we use.
20% of our audience will pay 80% of our income, or like we'll earn 80% of our income from 20% of our clients, and we'll earn 20% of our income from 80% of our clients. So who are we looking after? The masses or the people who are in the niche? And that's what we use the 80-20 rule across a lot of things.
Even in our hair cutting, a lot of our education uses 80-20 as well. Like it's magical when you really master that. It's like, wow, this is life-changing stuff. Yeah.
I really love that. I like how you look at that aspect.
And brand, right? Like, I feel like in today's world, if we're not telling people about what we do, we can't make the impact at no matter what level. And we always say, I don't know if you've listened to any of our podcasts already, when we've mentioned you in them, we've said, well, Henry will probably openly admit that he's not the best barber in the world, but he's one of the best marketed barbers in the world.
Yeah. I literally say it all the time to our coaching group, to anyone who's got anything to say about your work. I'm like, they're like, oh, I can do better haircuts. It's like, yeah, but what are you better at 99% of barbers at? Telling everybody what you have. I'm like, forget about what he's doing. Look at the strategy. Stop getting so like emotional about the actual thing, and come up to a higher level and look at the strategy. You are better than, I would say, 99% of barbers at telling everybody what you have and why they need it. And you're not afraid to be seen.
100%.
That's the game. And like, we could Gary V this whole thing and be like, in a saturated market, it's even more important now. And you call, we what does Deluxe call it? The new era or something? New era.
Yeah.
We kind of call it like the third wave. We kind of see the waves.
You can call it whatever you like it. It's just a new coming of.
Yeah. I kind of looked at it like, I was thinking about like Web3, you know, Web2, Web3, you know, I was like, oh, we're kind of in like Barber in 3 now. We're in third wave Barber. I was like, that's kind of cool. And I see that's where you're leading, right? And that's what it is. And that's why people are getting butthurt about it. That's why all these like old school dudes are like, oh, you know, this. It's like, it's just honed a skill that you don't have. Like, that's it. Don't get emotional. There's always more to learn, you know, and lots of people are very good at cutting hair now. I feel like in the last 10 years, you know, education blew up. Most people can do a nice haircut. But what most people can't do is tell people what they have and why they should have it. And that's genius.
And then make content around it too, right? So like then be able to actually have the skill of content creation. It's like one of your better skills, I would imagine, is content creation. And like for me now, like when I wake up in the morning, like one of the first things, and I keep having to remind myself every day, what's the highest leverage thing that I can do for my business today? And it's not, for a barber, for anyone listening to this, it's not cutting hair. It's telling people that you cut hair. Really, like content creation. So how important has that been for you, content creation and getting good at that skill?
It's been super important because content creation comes with expressing your identity. Why do you watch someone on YouTube, right? Let's just say YouTube, because YouTube is the pinnacle of social media platforms, right? Why do you watch someone on YouTube? Because of their character, right? Because of their brand, because of how they make you feel. So they can make you feel in 3 ways. They can make you feel entertained. They can make you feel like you've learned something. And they can make you feel like something is relatable, something that's trending. So out of those 3, which one do you tick? And you could, so what comes with that end is the content creation aspect is expressing something unique that the market hasn't seen. And that's what people get scared of. Oh, it's already been done. I don't want to copy. Or, oh, I don't know what to put out. The first step is just put something out. Just start. Put whatever. Reference someone. Have a look what the market is. There's this, to steal from one artist is plagiarism, right? But to steal from many is research. So get everything that you like. I like some a bit of your podcast. I like the light in here. I like this over here. And I'll form it to make my own thing. And I'll put a bit of me in it. And not just me, my true me. That is content creation.
It's wind up. But it's true, man. Brands. I think brand is everything. You know, personal brand for us now is going to be the thing, right? Like, if we're to go back to the waves situation, the waves conversation, there is a lot of people, I guess, doing something very similar to you now. You know, it's very obvious when we go on Instagram and we see it everywhere. It's like, oh, somebody else has joined Deluxe program. I can see the blueprint coming out, right? The DNA of what he teaches, but also you're in their mind when they're joining it. A lot of those people probably joined because of you. And now they're repeating the formula. But at a certain point, if they're not connected to a strong why, they'll realize one day, fuck, I've just been creating Henry's business and I don't know why he's doing it. I don't know what he's doing with his money. So now I've got all this stuff and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
100%. Like you're trying to fill someone else's shoe. Right?
Yeah.
If you come into an industry trying to copy someone, you're only going to be mediocre at it. Right? And I'm not saying that because I want to attack you. I'm just saying that for how it is. It's an objective statement. So, like I said, you're the best person that can be yourself. I can't be you. If I try to be on my best day, I try to be you, I can't. So the world and the industry doesn't need another Henry. It doesn't need another Hakeem. It doesn't need another HH Barbers. It needs another you. Right? So that's why I emphasize so much on just be your authentic self. Grab what you like, right? Do the market research and take from many, because then it'll become research. If you steal from one person, it is plagiarism. Steal from many, it's research. Grab that research and make it your own beautiful product.
I love it, even the way you were expressing it there. like in that expression, that's exhausting, right? Like you were saying, I'm trying to be that person. That's exhausting. And that's what most people do. And that's what breaks most people. And I love that whole saying of like, most people lose themselves in the pursuit of trying to either please other people or be other people. And they lose themselves in that. So there's double danger there. They get tired and overwhelmed and they lose themselves. So it's like double whammy. And that is so important to like come back to your authentic self. And that's why I love what you say. I love that line of like, good artists copy, the best artists steal, right? What I would say to people is like, don't copy Henry, steal from him, and because they're different.
They're different, very different.
I feel like don't copy the content, steal the strategy.
Yes.
And we always say to our clients, put it through your filter. Just look at the strategy, don't get emotional about it. There's obviously something that's working. Look at the strategy, steal the strategy, and put your magic on it. Boom.
100%. Nothing has been newly found and then they did, right? Nothing in this world, like 1% of it is newly found. 99% of the strategies of what you see is being replicated, right? But replicated in a way where they've done it themselves. So like the strategies that I see, like let's say even the strategy of McDonald's, right? How did they get 15-year-olds into a restaurant and get it to be fully functioning? How? These guys are brain dead with no intellect that came out of high school or in high school that can run a whole store because they had a system. And that system that they used has been used by many different like Uber. They're not the ones driving. They use the system. The system is the platform, right? That made millions. So yet again, that's like, and also coming in, bringing that point, you need structure and system into your lifestyle, right? Creativity is one thing, which is free flowing. Then structure and system is one thing as well.
And it's masculine, feminine energies,
Yeah, duality of the world.
Yeah, it's just the laws of the universe. It's just how it works. I love that.
I also like to ask you something as well, like being a mentor and an educator, what is the highlights that you've learned? Because I'm looking to get in in that field as well of mentoring, right? Privately. I don't express it because I like to be one-on-one with them and, what have you learned?
What about that? So you're asking what is the biggest lesson that I learned?
Yeah. In no order, you can name it.
Yeah. I think if I was to sum it all up, the thing that pops to my mind straight away is that I always need to be the mentor, or I always need to be mentored myself. So I always need to be approaching it from the lens of a student. And it's the day that I'm not doing that is the day that I shouldn't be doing it anymore. Like to go into it with an open mind, and it's more of a conversation rather than me projecting things at people and telling them how they should live their life. That I need to listen twice as much as I speak. Because it's not about me. A lot of people will go into education, mentorship, and it's all about them. And it's all about like, you need to follow how I did this, and this is right and this is wrong. Again, not embracing duality, right? So we go into our classes and we're like, guys, this is only going to work if we have a conversation. Like we can only do this in collaboration with you. So I think, the biggest lesson for me has been that I'm always a student, always will be. And the day that I stop is the day I need to look for something new to be a student in. Like I need to keep looking for new things. So now it's like, okay, well, I was a barber. I looked for mentors to help me get better at barbering, got better at barbering, started teaching it, looked for mentors to help me get better at teaching it. Now I'm mentoring people in business. I'm looking for mentors in business that are going to help me get better at that. Now we're looking at really specific mentors. Like we've got coaches in all areas of our lives. We've got a financial coach. We have a coach's coach, somebody who helps us design and build coaching programs. And we're just constantly improving our skills. And I think to get caught up in thinking that like I know it all is the day that I actually know nothing.
Yeah.
So that's been the thing for me. And I think approaching it from that lens helps everybody else even more so, because they realize, he's human too. And the coach only really ever needs to be one step ahead of the person that they're mentoring. It's like, okay, well, and one of the best things, Ron, I love that you're going into that arena, because one of the best things about it is because we're delivering mentorship to people and coaching to people and it's training and education people, it means that we are now accountable to being better ourselves. It's the best way to put our own rocket ship up our own ass.
And you can't give someone advice and not do that advice. It would be hypocritical and double standards, right? For you to tell someone to, be respectful and you to be disrespectful.
Yeah. Or you have to go to the gym, yet here I am fucking eating Big Macs and sitting back with a big, it wouldn't be a good look, would it? Like the fat PT will only get so far. Like it calls us to a standard. Because now we hold other people to these standards. And I love that. Like that was one of the things that I've learned. Like, any great coach needs a coach, someone who can bird's eye view your life. But I think the two things that stand out for me in terms of I think coaching and training has really been a bit of a savior for me, because I've had a long career in the hair industry. Like I was saying earlier, I understand that people getting bored and all this kind of stuff because I went through those waves. Coaching and training really helped me to the same as the why conversation, to re-solidify my why and my purpose, to serve. I found a reason to serve that feels like it's worth it again, because in hair I got to a point where I knew that it wasn't the highest level I could serve. Fixing people on the exterior now, I was like, oh, okay, I don't think this is how I can best serve. And so, that also took courage. It took courage from a day to make a snap decision. Okay, I can leave the industry now. I can do that. I can just quit if I want to. Or can I rejig myself, reevaluate, reposition, and still find a way to serve via this industry? And I love what Ram Dass says. He says, use your work as your path to enlightenment. And I always keep that in my head. I think, okay, I can quit now. There's still enlightenment here in this. The people in the hair world, I believe, are some of the people that need the most help. And we can do that through our industry. And that is what it's really taught me. It's really taught me that I can serve in a way that feels worth it. And it's a very, a personal worth it. I just speak for myself. And something tactical, something for you going into this is everybody's going to come to you with a story. And I used to struggle with how do I bring people to the point of awareness? Because awareness is everything in life, right? I had a dream the other night. I woke up from a dream with this voice in my head saying the aim of the game is ultimate awareness. The aim of the game is ultimate awareness. I just woke up to it. I was like, whoa, you're right. It's ultimate awareness. And I thought, we've had this conversation so many times over the years. How do you bring people to the gate of awareness? Then they can just push it open and walk through. But at the same time, that's dangerous, because if people aren't ready for the gate of awareness, it's dangerous for them to walk through it. What I've learned through coaching is it's not always a solution. It's a better question. So what I've really tried to hone in my skill set, how do I ask a better question to bring them slightly closer to the gate of awareness in their own time? Because I could say, I'm sure people have tried to do it to you, and the people have tried to do it to us. Oh, you need to do this, and I'll just go and do it, and I'll just go and do it. If it was that simple, everybody would do it. But what I've learned in coaching is the better questions. I just need to ask better questions and bring people, just to nudge them a little closer. And they walk through the gate on their own in the end. And then the magic just happens on the other side. And we've had a few experiences like that recently. People that are a bit deeper into our course, they're on the other side of all this awareness that they've done. Wow, I can't believe how different I am from 6-8 months ago. So that's been a really rewarding part of it, and a real tactical thing when you go into this place, really honing those questions to bring them closer to the gate of awareness. And yeah, like I said, it's just solidified my service in a way that I serve in a way that feels worth it to me. Yeah. So it's been huge.
That's beautiful. That's amazing.
So you got all that to look forward to.
That's amazing.
And it feels, it's people ask us all the time, same thing. And I'm sure you get the question, oh, so when are you guys going to what are you going to do next? It's this feels so good. you know, for now it's good. You know, it's so solidified in why and purpose.
Yeah. I think a common theme I'm picking up on here is like the same thing for yourself, is like we're going to the depths and the widths in order to like reach the heights, and the heights aren't as important at a certain point, right? Like you've got 170,000 followers, hit million views on TikTok, or million followers on TikTok. Like, what's 2 million going to do? You know, it's like it's the widths at a certain point. It's like, how deep can I go on? What impact am I leaving on people? Like, we're literally changing people's lives at our education classes. Outside of our coaching group, our 3-day course, the hair is just kind of happening. The hair is just the thing that's going on. Like, I'd remove it if we could. Every chance I get to remove hair from the situation, I do. Because we're at the point now where we go on stage at hair shows and we don't do hair. It's like, who's here to see a haircut? And everyone's like, yeah. And it's like, well, like, sorry. Because we got more important shit to talk about here. Because the hair is a distraction for the stuff that really needs to go on, which is the mindset stuff and the inner stuff.
It's beautiful, because what I get from this is that what we do is a platform, right? And content creation is a platform. And what you do with it enables you to reach fulfillment or reach, you know, a hedonistic cycle. So I think barbering is also a platform. They say, you know, how long are you going to start doing this? I might not do it forever, right? But it has been a chapter in my journey to allow me to take me to the next step as a stepping stone. All the successful business owners in the world, their first business was never their last business. Alex Hormozi started with the gym business. Now he owns heaps of, he owns a business that owns businesses, right? So for you to tell me that, like, you want to do this forever, or are you going to do this forever? I'm like, maybe not. You know what I mean? Time will tell. But I want to go into deepening my why I do it and making a positive impact on the world.
I love that.
That's so exciting.
I think hell, let's see. You have such a great opportunity to do it now as well. You know, with the platform that you have, it's huge. And you going to those depths and widths, it's only going to bring more of that through your content. Because ultimately, you know, people are going to be looking up to you now, especially young kids, as role model. It's like, how can I be more like Henry? I'm sure there's a lot of young kids being like, I want to be a barber now because HH, you know? And that comes with it responsibility, right? Like, with great power comes great responsibility. Again, American philosopher, Spider-Man, or was it, who said it? Peter Parker's uncle, or
Sure.
was it his uncle or his granddad or something?
Yeah.
Anyway, one of those.
Movie buff, right?
Yeah. But yeah, it's beautiful, man, and exciting.
100%. And I think it's very refreshing to see, like, younger people than me get inspired by what I do. And I think it's super awesome because, one, these guys have creativity and they understand, you know, the world and the youth, right? They understand what's popping and what's the latest trend and understand. So for them to go in an industry that will enable them to work at something, you know, and not get in a cycle of, you know, distracting away with bad influences, that in itself has really given me reassurance that I'm actually doing a positive. And I want to make that deeper by actually helping them now. You know what I mean? I actually want to, you know, create this community and build it where I will put a positive impact in the world and they see tangible results, you know, through material gains and through intrinsic gains. So in the future, this is 2024, you know, January. So by then we'll look back at this and I'm 21. So we'll see where, you know, 25 sets me.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you have in mind now? I guess a nice place to kind of wrap it out would be, like, what's next for you?
What's next for me is building myself first, being selfish, so then later I can be selfless, because growth starts from yourself first. You can only help you can only love someone if you love yourself first. You know, you can only help someone grow if you're growing. So I'm still working to become the best version of myself every day. Alongside, I will always help people. You know, I do charity work every month. I go to Queens Victoria Market, and I donate by giving free haircuts, you know. And that's run through just a young group of boys that was like around 18 to 25, you know. So we do that, and my next step to 25, to the next 3 years, this is 2024, Jan, and I want to create a community where I'm able to flourish and provide pure value for them to grow, right? And I want to create that in a way where it gets me closer with God, gets them closer with God, gets them improvements in all areas of their life, not just, you know, material gains and barbering and business and social media and all this flesh of worldly desires. What will get them to the next afterlife as well.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think if we can live through virtue, it's going to change the world, because the world doesn't need more like disempowerment. And our whole industry, if you want to look at it like from a commercial aspect, is kind of built on disempowerment. It's like, look at people's flaws and insecurities and like just pick on those and then monetize that, when it can be so different. And we've designed like a thing called the $1 Million Consultation. It's a hook. That's why it's called that. But it's not, it can make stylists $1 million because it's human empowerment rather than disempowerment. The angle is different to being like, oh, come in to get a haircut, sit down, what's wrong with you? Tell me what's wrong with you, let me fix it for you. That can actually be more sometimes about the stylist than it can be about the client. Like the stylist turns it into like a task-based thing. It's like, I'm going to show you how good I am at cutting hair because I'm going to solve all your problems. And Peter Crone, who Leigh mentioned earlier, says a great thing. He's like, I don't solve problems, I dissolve them. I help people realize that there is no problem in the first place.
Wow.
That they're actually pure as they are. The haircut's just something that you can have, right? It's not going to solve all your problems or your life, because when it grows back, what happens then? You know? Because it grows back. Hair always grows back. So that's something that we've really kind of detached from in the last couple of years.
Yeah. That's where the empowerment kind of piece comes from in the work that we do. And something that we're so strong on in our 3-day course is really coming at it from an empowerment lens rather than disempowerment. Because we understand the psychology of people is quite delicate these days, right? And every word that we say carries an energy, carries everything that we do. We have to be very careful of the language and the words. And there's another psychologist that I really follow. I love his work. He's really big into like parts therapy. I don't know if you know parts therapy, but it's in internal family systems, and it's getting to understand all the parts of yourself and developing relationships with them. And one of the formulas that he uses for people is to look at the things that you would prefer to have in life. He doesn't say wants, he says preferences. So prefer is a bit softer than want, because want has like a deadline. It's like, if you don't get it, well then what? Preference is a lot softer. And that's how I approach haircuts. I'm like, it's not what do you want, it's what would you prefer. Because prefer, it's like, it's okay if you don't get it. This is where I kind of start my services from. It's like, if you don't have this haircut today, you're still perfect the way you are. You don't need this. So then build it from there. And the structure that he uses is like, look at the things you prefer to have, and are those, and the ways that you're trying to get them, are they sustainable ways to get them? And this is how we start the design. And I built a lot of the framework in the $1 Million Consultation from was that set point of like, is a haircut, I dig into all the feelings that people are trying to get. Well, what is it that you're trying to get from this? What is it you're trying to say? What are you trying to get? It's a story. And then once I get to there, it's like, well, I then do some calculations in my head. And for most people, I think, is this a sustainable way to get these things? Oftentimes it's a no, because the hair grows back, and then they're back to square one, back to their insecurities, their non-confident self, and all that kind of stuff. The haircut is just something that you can have, and it makes you look different. Not better, not worse, just different. Because again, if I'm bringing in the hierarchical, good, bad, judgment, language, again, my words carry power, judgment, language, all of this stuff, I would be very careful what that's going to do to the psychology of the person. And that's what we serve on an even bigger level, because then we're taking empowerment in our services. We're delivering a high quality product. We're getting enjoyment from it from ourselves because we're delivering products that we want to give people. They leave empowered. It's like this huge, it's massive. There's a big web that starts to grow. And I feel like that's why our industry is so powerful. We are this close to changing the world through the hair industry. It's just like, just walk over the line a little bit into empowerment. And once we get there, we're off to the races. People like yourself, with the platform that you have, you're off on it. Like it's the butterfly effect, and it's just going to be incredible. So I'm super excited for that. And just a funny question. Did you pioneer the consultation video? I am seeing them everywhere, but I think you did it first. Was it you?
So, like I said, with the consultation videos, my strategy towards it was, if you steal from one person, it's plagiarism. If you steal from many, it's research. So I've seen it somewhere else, right? So I saw it in a different industry where they're talking about what they want. So oftentimes you can use what works in other industries and grab that strategy that they used and apply it and see how you can apply it in your industry. So for example, let's just say TikTok. TikTok was like going crazy about like fast, like under 15 seconds. So how can I apply that same dopamine fix with the music, with the beat cuts, and apply it to my industry? I can chop it up and make it in a way where it's satisfying and the transformation, right? So I saw that same strategy in a different industry, that consultation, right? So it was talking about, I'm not sure what it was. It was like someone discussing like, oh, how much would your house be sold if your house is like this? It was something about that. And I thought, wow, they're talking about their end product and what their client wants. So I'll take that into my thing and I can talk with my client about what they want, and I can deliver on what they exactly said, because I knew that there was this epidemic of clients and people coming into the shop and saying something that they want and not getting it. So if I deliver on what my client says and show them the finished product, they will have conviction that when they see my portfolio, they're coming to me, they're coming to a person that is listening to them, is executing what exactly they want, specifically at each detail. That, in a way, I have created that.
So if people come to you and you can tell that the way that they look is really affecting them in a negative way, like if they don't get this haircut, life is over. Like, do you ever get that?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you handle that kind of situation?
There's two ways that I approach them with it as well. I give them 2 points of reference where, one, that's what the marketing does, right? It can really make you feel like you need it in order to function, right? But also, I've, in a way, believed that haircut can spiral you towards like not needing it, because you have conviction in yourself that you are good, right? Once you get that haircut, you feel good, you do good. You start to realize that like you don't need the cut, right? So I tell them that, dude, confidence comes from your actions and what you are. You don't need the haircut to become it, to be confident, but the haircut helps tremendously. When you get that haircut and you feel good, you look good, you perform well. You perform even better. So I get guys, yeah, for sure, come in, dude, man, like they won't be talking. At the end of it, they'll be talking to me like so much just because of that confidence boost.
Yeah, one of my coaches once said, like, show people the illusion until they're ready for the truth. And sometimes the haircut can be the illusion, and the truth is like how they truly feel about themselves. And if that's, if the purpose of what we do and the why is to, I guess, empower people at the end of it, that's how I believe personally we're going to change this industry. I think a lot of it bleeds over from the women's side of the industry, because women are very caught up in how that looks for them and their hair being perfect, and if you don't have this shade of blonde, you're not on the latest trend or whatever it is. But now, you know, men are also falling into that kind of category, again because of marketing, but I think that happens on a big scale from the big product brands. They do that to drive up product sales. It's like, oh, you need this product or you're not going to be able to style your hair and you're going to look shit and then nobody's going to love you. And that's not like a positive way to bring it all, you know, but, you know, I understand that, you know, all of us, we've been asked questions in our class about, you know, how you're doing your videos and what do you think of them doing $300 haircuts and what do you think of this? And it's like, well, if it's a case of show them the illusion until they're ready for the truth and they do leave feeling empowered, and that might be the thing that then moves them to the next stage of life, great. That's a great angle to come at it from. I was just hoping that more people can actually come and get the product, you know, because another distant coach or distant mentor of mine said, our marketing can change more lives than our services ever will. So like, you're never going to be able to cut millions of people's hair. It's just impossible. But you can reach them through your marketing. So that's such a massive like platform for you to be able to like really make positive change, which is cool.
Yeah. And I love people. I've kind of gone like real full circle with my clients these days. I've taken them through all the trials and tribulations of worrying about their hair. We've moved them to a place where realizing, this just helps. Like you said, it helps, but it's not the whole piece of the pie. Now we've gone full circle to like conscious choice. So like there's a difference between conscious choice and unconscious need or want out of insecurity or a pattern, right? And to choose to change the way you look consciously is a superpower. Whether you have it or not, you're fine. You can perform, you're confident. Like I haven't had a haircut in 3 years, but it was a journey I went on myself as well. It's like, because I was obsessed. Like when I was young, your age, haircut, clothes, the whole thing. Like needed it, right? Wanted it, needed it, but it was exhausting. And so that's what I love for the work that I do now is like the empowerment piece of like conscious choice. That because it was unconscious to me. It was a pattern. It was something, again, like Owen said, it was deep down, the story was I won't be loved if I don't look this way. And that's what most people are thinking. It's like when they just don't even know why they're there. Oh, just get a haircut, bro. This is like most people, there's a deep story of like, I won't be loved if I don't look this way. So what I've spent the last kind of 5-6 years of my career doing is like unwinding those stories for people, not telling them that their haircut is bad, but if it comes from conscious choice, that's where it gets powerful. And my job gets really enjoyable that way because we're co-creating then. We're co-creating empowerment rather than letting them just carry on with their disempowering story. And it's like, shit's exciting. Because now my clients come in the chair and they're like, cool, it's you imagine the whole barbering industry, it was out of co-creation and conscious choice. Like, you'll get way less people like, being picky, blah, 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 blah. They'll go, Henry, I love your work. I know I'm whole with or without this. I'm so fortunate right now that we live in a time where I can spend the money and the time and the resources to be here with you. Do you think, bro? And like, that's conscious choice because they're just choosing a product that you give. It's a beautiful place to be, you know, and like that's empowerment, like through and through. And people like yourself, you have the platform, like, and imagine, you know, and I always put it through the lens of like, you know, one of my mentors says to me, like, you know, what if everybody did this? I think about that in all of the things I do in my life. What if everybody did this? And it gives me a really clear gauge onto like, should I keep doing this? Or should I try and adjust my approach a little bit, you know? To pull people to pieces like the hair industry's done for so long and like try and put them back together. If everybody did that, which we're seeing on a wide scale, I don't know what the knock-on effect of that on people's psychology is, you know, on long term. Because like I always said, or even in the men's industry now, people have to keep changing themselves. You know, it's not like they just get the one thing or just trust you to do whatever. It's like they keep changing. And it's like, where does that end? You know, I think for a lot, the undercurrent for a lot of people is still, I am not loved if I don't keep doing this. So that's where I try and bring them back out of that, untwist that story and be like, no, you are loved. You're perfect the way you are before you even came here. You're just choosing to make yourself look a bit different. And that's awesome as well. We're going to co-create on this, and like we're going to create something cool. And that's like the $1 million consultation model that we have. It's hard for a lot of people to understand because they're like, whoa, that's different. But it's like so deep rooted in empowerment, you know.
And then there's the having $1 million and then feeling $1 million. It's a different thing. One, to just wrap up Leigh's point beautifully there. One thing we do before our courses, usually I do it, I don't know if I'll do it this time. But Leigh has long hair, hasn't had a haircut in 3 years. And I shave my head. So I just go in there.
I'll shave my head.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'll shave my head.
We just go in there with no hair. So it's like, well, Leigh has long hair, nothing to look at.
Just tied up.
You know, I have no hair. So now we can focus on the real shit that needs to be spoken about here. Because imagine if I had the burst fade and scratches and the fucking textured hair, and like, there are people just looking at my fucking hair. They'll listen to what I'm saying. You know, they're not listening to what I'm actually saying. Like, this is like, if you look at it in religious worlds, right? Like, people get rid of that stuff so that you can really tap in to like what's going on in here.
So I hang out with there's a Buddhist monk, Buddhist temple near me, and I go there weekly sometimes. And you know, if you want to go hang out there, one of the first things you have to do is shave your head. They're like, get rid of that.
So one of the reasons why I did, like, you know, my head is shaving right now. You know what I mean? I shaved it all off. And like, why did I shave my head as a barber that charges $300? Is to actually, first of all, follow the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and because he did that on his trip. But second, the way I looked at it is that to detach from this worldly and focus on the intrinsic, you know, like, yes, your appearance and your image is definitely plays a big impact on your brand and your self-image, but also who you are plays a big thing on who your brand is. So I shaved my head as a barber, and how ironic is that to be a bald barber is that, you know, I want to focus on the things that truly matter, right? And I'm not saying that the work that I do, you know, doesn't matter. It does, but what matters is like doing the things that's going to get me there. So a lot of people ask me also, to bring up one point, is why do you charge so much, and how can I charge $300 like you? How can I charge, people ask me, how can I charge 100 plus like you? And I say, sometimes not even about the haircut. It's not even about the marketing, but it's about who you are as a person and what do you provide for that client. A lot of these people, they come to me, and a good majority of them tell me, like, bro, I don't even, low-key, your haircuts are fire, but I come to you for what value you give me. And that is so fulfilling to me, because I'm able to help people and provide not only a haircut service that is intangible, that provides them confidence that they can leave with, but also help that they need, you know, spiritual help in this world that is so, that you can see is very messy. I can unwind it and tidy it up for them, even if it's just for an hour every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, you know, if you're constantly growing, that's going to, you know, bleed out across what you're doing in your services. Like, you're going to be sharing that with people, and they're going to feel that energetically too. You know, I definitely feel a different energy from you to what I've seen when you first started putting content out. And being here with you today, I feel we even got something that's probably unexpected in a way. But it's always going to be that way, right? Like, as we're growing, like, when people sit down with us, they probably think, oh, fuck, no. Didn't think they were going to be like that.
The reason why I believe that is that, like, every time you speak to me, I'll be different. You know why? Because every time, 6 months ago, I was not the same person that I am today. I would even argue the point that 6 weeks ago, I'm not the same person, let alone 2 weeks ago, yesterday, I'm not the same person that I am, because each day is a me that is elevated, where I'm constantly learning and growing, only if I make the steps to get me there. Only if I make the steps. So to wrap it up, I know we got to finish. I know that you got time, but Just finish off with some quick fire questions. So like, I'll give you like for each question, maybe like 5 questions, I'll give you like a 20-second response.
I'm going to think of the audience. I'm going to think about for all the kids watching at home. So like for
frequently asked questions.
Yeah. So barbers that are interested in like how you work, just super tangible tips for 2024. What do barbers need to focus on 2024 to progress, to reach your heights or somewhere close?
If you're a barber in 2024 or you're starting as a barber, you've got to focus on quality, right? If you want to be charging X amount of $100 plus, you have to focus on premium. And what premium is difference to what's not premium, or of what's that's cheap and regular. Find that distinguishing point and go full on that. If you are really good at beards, go full on that. If you're really good on crop, texture crop, go on with that. So I would say, and to add to that, focus on your repetition. Intentional repetition. Because you can just keep doing it and cutting, but you don't have the intention to improve a certain thing, you're not going to grow. You're going to stay the same, cutting the same way. So focus on that specific thing that you want to focus on. For example, I want to work on my lineups. I want to make them dark without any enhancements and make them look like they're dark. So I'm going to focus that this whole day. I'm going to focus on that.
Yeah. Can I do one more?
Yeah, you go.
I'll take 2, you can take 3.
That's all.
I'm just thinking of the audience.
I'm listening. So, I'm not even thinking. I'm just listening.
I'm thinking of the audience. So for anyone out there who's thinking, oh, so what does Henry do in a service? What does someone coming to you paying $300? What does that person get in terms of service? What do they get from you?
So first of all, they're provided with professionalism. They're provided with a service that is tailored to their exact features, whether it be head shape, texture of hair, texture of facial structure, and a molding to that will suit them at their best. Regarding the trend as well, how they would like to be seen. Second is also experience that can be there for communication, right? Barbers can be named as a therapist, but I like to see it in a way where it is unplanned. They come in with, when you go to a therapist or you go to a psychologist, you have to admit to yourself that you have a problem, right? You have to admit to yourself. So that's where I come in and say that this guy cuts with me every 2 weeks and he's getting regular thing without the planned, I'm going to spill all my problems to you. He just speaks what he likes and we get to share this, something that's priceless. And by the end of it, he's feeling great and he's enabled to do what he does, and he comes back telling me what he did with it. Bro, I passed this test. Bro, I'm able to do this. I'm meeting the girlfriend's family and it went well, and all sorts of stories that me being happy, me feeling fulfilled that I played a contribution in that.
And in that, when people come to see you, I know I've listened to some of your previous podcasts, but do you give them extras? Do you have a basin in your studio? Like all these little things for little nuts and bolts that barbers are thinking, what is it? Because we get it all the time. People think, what else must he be doing? You know? So just quick rundown, like, is it extras? Is it this? Yeah. But is it just trust in the product? Like,
people think, why do you charge so much? You must have a lot of like do you put, skincare? Do you do this? Do you do wash? No, it's just a simple cut. They come to you for their haircut, and that's what I deliver on. I actually focus on micromanaging just 2 services. I try my best to do 2 services, which is haircut and beard. And then people ask me for designs and eyebrows and stuff like that. That's the max I will go. Because for you to be good at something, you have to put all your attention on one thing. That's how, if I put my attention on all these other services, I wouldn't put there exerting myself, So I would do it in a simple way, focus on one thing that will get you there. They deliver the best product. Like the iPhone, like the iPhone costs under $200 to make, $400 to make, but they sell it at 4x, 10x actually, because they deliver a great product. The same thing. Deliver on your product and make it the best it can be. Then you'll be rewarded and you can charge whatever you want.
Love that. Simplicity solves complexity. That always comes to mind when I hear that. Simple.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, I love it. That's it. I think that's a great place to wrap it. I don't really have many questions. I think I asked a lot of my questions. It was just, I was listening to a podcast there myself. Listening to you guys going. But thanks so much, man, for your time. I'm sure everyone will get a lot of value out of that. Love to do part 2 in the future. See where you're at in 6 months, 1 year, who knows when we'll catch up again next. But I appreciate you, man. Any last words?
Honestly, it's been a pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me. It's going to be an honor being in your place and being greeted with a warm welcome. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the future, and honestly, I'm ready to attack what's on my way and execute.
Yeah, sick, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate it.